All right, Shalom. First, I'd like to start by saying all praise to Yahweh by Shem Yahushai, by Shem Kakadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles that rule well, and salutations to the brothers that's doing the truth and sincerity. This is a video. It says U.S. death toll from coronavirus nears 100,000. Now, we know that Esau purposely put this virus out there, and we also know that Esau has fabricated the numbers, because a lot of us brothers didn't check these hospitals. We live in these cities, and we haven't seen any any real panic or any hospitals being filled up or anything that's happening outside these hospitals that'll make you believe that thousands of people are dying. So I'm gonna grab this scripture first. Yeah. This is Job chapter 13, verse 4. It says, "But ye are forgers of lies. Ye are physicians of no value." Right? So Esau is a liar, man. The scriptures say never trust thine enemy. Esau is trying to bring in his new world agenda. That's why he's doing this whole fear mongering, his divide and conquer tactics. He's making people want to trust him more. This is Psalms chapter 68, verse 20. It says, "He that is our power is the power of salvation, and unto the Most High Yahweh, the Lord, belongeth the issues from death." Right? So the Lord determines if you die or not this devil, not this coronavirus. So I'm going to go ahead and play a little bit of this and then bring out a couple more precepts.
Good morning and welcome to a special Sunday edition of Morning Joe. It is May 24th. We come on the air today as the national death toll approaches 100,000 killed by COVID-19. It's a staggering figure, illustrated in striking terms on the front page of today's New York Times. Here, 1,000 names, just a fraction of the overall loss, are stacked side by side, top to bottom, in what the paper calls an incalculable loss. And as the Times notes, they were not simply names on a list. They were us. Among them, Romy Cohn, 91, from New York City, saved 56 Jewish families from the Gestapo. Lavenia Henderson, who was 44, from Tonawanda, New York, a proud single mother of 3. Alan Lund, 81, from Washington, a conductor with the most amazing ear. Teresa Eloy, 63, from New Orleans, renowned for her business making detailed pins and corsages. And Kobe Adolph, who was 44, from Chicago, an entrepreneur and an adventurer. Lila A. Fenwick, from 87 years old, from New York City, was the first Black woman to graduate from Harvard Law School. We come on the air this morning ahead of Memorial Day, a time in which the country pauses to remember its veterans, all those who gave the last full measure of devotion, and all those still serving today. We come on the air in search of leadership for a nation in crisis, in the middle of a human catastrophe, for a people divided, and for the chance to get this country back on firm footing. Along with Joe and me, we have White House reporter for the Associated Press, Jonathan Lemire, columnist and associate editor for the Washington Post.
All right, Salakia. This is This Psalm chapter 10, verse 4, it says, the wicked, through the pride of his countenance, will not seek after Yahweh Shema Shai. The Most High is not in all his thoughts. Yeah, so Esau, don't even believe in Yahweh Shema Shai. They're not even thinking about Yahweh Shema Shai, as far as why all this stuff is going on, man. They believe it's science, Mother Nature, and stuff of that nature and stuff, instead of revealing the truth and et cetera, et cetera. But we know they're not going to do it. But still, man.
David Ignatius, and historian and author of The Soul of America, John Meacham.
John, I look through these names, and there's Dwayne Vaught from Mission, Kansas, a proud Army vet who served in World War II. Mary Santiago from Evanston, Illinois, who just loved being a mom. April Dunn, a 33-year-old advocate for disability rights in Louisiana. Thomas Reel, 61, from Newton, Pennsylvania, who was at peace most when he was on his Harley. Like the Times said, they were us. A Green Bay Packers ticket holder, the leader of a prayer circle, a college basketball assists winner, a Tony Award-winning writer, an innovative high school principal, a nurse in the COVID fight, an assistant pastor, and a dad who dedicated his entire life to his children. And John, there seems to be no historical parallel, though I know a lot of people certainly remembered back in 1969 when Life magazine showed pictures of 1 week's dead in Vietnam, and it jarred the nation to its core. I suspect this will serve as a wake-up call for those who thought we could just sort of turn our eyes and move on.
No, I salute the New York Times for a brilliant use of design to convey a point. And for those who suspect that print has no role, I refer you as Exhibit A to this edition of the newspaper. It's in the business you call small type agate type, and in this case, in the agate type, they have managed to convey something that the President of the United States, in many ways, does not want conveyed, which is the scope and scale and depth of the costs of this pandemic. And I think you're right about the Life magazine piece. I remember the Times also did the remarkable job with 9/11, with the lives we lost. And it's a reminder that for all of our communally our conversations about politics and personalities, that fundamentally this is about people. It's about human beings, and the root of the word politics is from city. It's from it's a collection of people. That's the Aristotelian meaning of it. And I think that the pandemic has, in a way that even war does not have, this universality of threat. And I thought, and we talked about it, I thought looking back at the beginning of March, perhaps we will avoid a partisan pandemic. We have not. But we have the capacity always to address our issues with some national purpose if we had the right leadership.
Well, I will say, Mika, that we actually, if you look at what Americans have done, if you ignore a lot of the destructive nonsense coming out of Washington, and you just look at what Americans have done, what they're telling pollsters, but more importantly, the fact that in the state of Florida, for instance, studies have shown, and there's been reporting that just following cell phone data, that Floridians sheltered in place and began protecting their families even when their leaders were bumbling about. And we did bend the curve. We did that as a nation. Unfortunately, so many politicians, and yes, you can say Republicans mainly, but also there were some Democrats who were a little slow in moving forward.
See, they're not even thinking about Yahweh Shema. They're thinking about Democrat, Republicans, and the decisions that they made is why we here and all this extra BS, which is a part of Esau's agenda. But really it's the ultimate end of Esau's kingdom. So, 1 second. The second Ezra chapter 9, verse 1. It says, He answered me then and said, Measure thou the time diligently in itself, and when thou seest part of the signs pass, which I have told thee before, then shalt thou understand that it is the very same time when the highest will begin to visit the world which he made. And as you can see, that's what's going on. It says, Therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes and uproars of the people in the world, then shalt thou well understand that the Most High spake of those things from the days that were before thee, even from the beginning. For like as all that is made in the world hath a beginning and an end, and the end is manifest. Right, so we live in the end times, man. And this is the way because of these prophecies. The second Ezra chapter 6, verse 6, it says, Then did I consider these things, and they were all made through me alone, and through none other. By me also shall they be ended, and by none other. Then answered I and said, What shall be the parting asunder of the times? Or when shall be the end of the first, and the beginning of it that followeth? Right, the end of Esau world, and the beginning of Yahweh Shai taking over this place, and Yahweh, and we are us ruling in this place through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shema Shai, man. It says, verse 7, Then answered I and said, What shall be the parting asunder of the times, or when shall be the end of the first, and the beginning of it that followeth? And he said unto me, From Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him, Jacob's hand held first the heel of Esau. For Esau, which is the white man, is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. So all these prophecies and this catastrophe, this pandemic situation, is happening because we're at the end of Esau's kingdom. So he's trying to bring in this new world order. So no matter what they say, and who they try to blame, is ultimately because Yahweh Shai's kingdom is coming next, man. So with that being said, all praise to Yahweh Shema Shai, double honors to the elders and apostles that rule well, and salutations to the brothers that's doing the truth and sincerity. Shalom.